Hello, everybody. Just want to kind of talk about some conversations that I've had over the past month or so with people in relation to politics. Recently, last week, I had a conversation with a close friend. Came over, we had a gathering at the house, and a lot of people come over. And after everyone left, we had a good conversation because he knows that I'm a Trump supporter, and he knows that I know that he's anti-Trump. And it's interesting when you have a conversation with folks over social media. Sometimes things can just get lost because they're not seeing everything. You're not seeing everything each other writes. But when you're having a face-to-face conversation with someone, you can't ignore what's being said, and you have to address exactly what's being thrown out there. So the interesting thing is that the bottom line, when you're speaking with someone about Trump, is that from most of them are going to say that they don't agree with what he says. But the problem is, none of them have actually listened to what he said from his own mouth. And what my close friend said to me proved that point. He said, I can't get with what he says. And I'm like, well, where did you hear it from? He says, well, from what I hear on TV. I'm like, what do you mean? You mean from what you hear from the news channels, the media? He's like, yeah. And I was like, well, have you ever listened to his actual speeches in their entirety? He said, no. And then he said the next thing, which was very, very important and very telling. He said, and I have no interest in listening to what he says. So right then and there, it's like, well, if you have no interest to listen to if you're not interested whatsoever in what your opponent or what someone else is saying, well, then how can you ever come to some sort of understanding or compromise or anything? How can you even vote intelligently if you don't know what's being said? If you're only getting what the media is giving you, and you know for a fact that the media lies, well, then how can you say you're being honest about your vote? How can you say that you're making the best decision? And then it goes back to what was said earlier in the conversation when he said, I usually listen to my family. I vote with how my family votes, and I trust them. And my response was, yeah, well, that's exactly the reason why the majority of black people vote Democrat, because the rest of their family votes Democrat. But that doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat just because the rest of your family does so. If the rest of your family, is having children out of wedlock and or getting divorced or are strung up on drugs, does that mean you should be doing it too? No. So then how is voting any different? Especially when you consider the fact that every single city run by Democrats is run into the ground. Every one. So do you just walk by that and ignore it every single day, but you're going to vote just because your family votes that way? Well, that's a problem. That to me is a problem. And it's a double standard, because if you can believe what the media says about someone wholeheartedly, yet you look at the other candidate and listen to what she actually says and know it's a lie, know that you're being lied to, know that what she's saying is horrible, but you ignore it entirely. So you can listen to one person's opinions and completely ignore all the negative, which outweighs the good by far, but you can completely ignore the other opponent and his actual words, which there's more good than bad, if there's any bad at all. And yeah, that's probably going to trigger some of you lefties out there, but the weight of what he actually says, the majority of it is good when you listen to the words that come from his own mouth. So how is that not a double standard? How is that fair? If you're not willing to listen to someone's opinion, if it's different than yours, what gives you the right to call someone who is a Trump supporter or a Hillary supporter an idiot, or whatever other names that people like to throw out there on Facebook when they say, well, I see my friends are supporting Trump, and I hate to say it, but you can delete me if you want to after this, but you're all stupid, and every single name under the sun you can call your close friends and family and relative because they support Trump, but you're not willing to listen to their arguments. You're not willing to have a conversation about it. You're willing to call someone uneducated because of the person they support, yet you're not willing to sit down and have a conversation about the different points or the issues that each candidate is willing, or each candidate is speaking about. That to me doesn't seem very educated. It seems kind of sheepish, actually. Sheepish. So, I mean, that's just, interesting to me. But bottom line is, if you're not going to be willing to listen to both candidates, then you shouldn't be voting, period. And being young once myself, yeah, I did that. I voted for Obama once, the first time, because I was a Democrat and I was under the man's trying to keep us down, and everything is the white man's fault, and the reason why I'm suffering is because of somebody else, and everybody's out to get me, and so when I voted for Obama, it was, I want to get back at the white man. I want to make him feel my pain and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And it was wrong. And it was racist. I mean, if you're just going to vote for somebody or support someone based on the color of their skin, that is the opposite of what Martin Luther King marched and peacefully protested and ultimately died for. The very opposite of it. He said to judge someone by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Yet we've all voted for Obama because of the color of his skin. So I didn't do that the second time because I actually started listening to what he was saying, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and write in Ron Paul because I can't get behind Mitt Romney either. So, and of course now, voting for Trump, you listen to what people say. Listen to what people say. Look at their words. Look at their policies. Look at what they've done. And and of course you're going to have to get into the whole show me the racism game, because people are going to say that, oh well, back in 19 such and such, Trump said that said this about blacks or said that about blacks. About not wanting to build in particular communities because blacks are responsible for the crime there. And I'm like, well, is it racist to point out the fact that a particular demographic is the cause of crime in a predominantly black area or predominantly anything area? If there was a group of white people, a small group of white people living in a predominantly Asian neighborhood, and 85% of the crime was committed by that small group of white people, would it be safe to say that that demographic of people are responsible for, or the reason why you do not want to build in that particular area where they are? Nobody will call that racist because they're white. But on the other hand, if they're black, you now are racist because you don't want to build a business there where stuff gets destroyed. Well, let me ask you this. How many people are going to go to Milwaukee and build a business right where those other businesses got burned down? How many? No one. I mean, no one. And the funny thing is that black people know this, but we refuse to talk about it. We say, we need to support each other and this and that. But black people move out of the ghetto because of other black people. We don't move out of the ghetto because police are pulling us over or it's police brutality. We move out of the ghetto because we're afraid of stray bullets ending the lives of us or one of our children. And then we have the nerve to say, oh, I fear for my life because I could get pulled over and killed any day. No. You moved out of the ghetto and you moved into the suburbs because of other black people. And that's a fact. I mean, we talk about it. They talk about it in music all the time, moving out of the ghetto and this and that. Well, the reason you need to move out of the ghetto is because you have a 90% chance of dying at the hands of somebody who looks just like you. So how are you going to say that you fear for your life over police? It's just nonsense. It's just straight up nonsense. So, but yeah, those are just some thoughts and some rants, conversations. It's always good to have conversations with people because you get to understand that people usually are not thinking about their own reasons for doing things. They're just doing them usually because someone else is telling them to think a certain way, or someone else is giving them their own opinions. But when you analyze your reasons for doing something, really look at them, you start to wake up and say, wait a minute, why am I still doing this? Why am I still supporting this group of people if they've done this, if they continue to do that, if no improvement has happened in this area when they're supposed to be for my people, So, but yeah, all right, that's enough. All right, thanks for listening. Bye.